To finish up our conversation around the four major operations dealing with integers, we need to talk about division. And so far, I've been using number lines to demonstrate and show addition and subtraction and multiplication. I encourage you to keep doing that because you really begin to see the numbers and how they work together if you take it that approach. Division, I'm going to work a little bit differently because I think it's important to understand what division really means. In fact, see if you can answer that. Pause and say, what does division really mean? Right? Answer out loud into the air. I'll give you an example. Let's just start with a problem that's not division. 3 times 5 equals 15. That's a multiplication problem. 3 and 5, if you remember some terminology, 3 and 5 are factors of 15. 15 is the product of 3 and 5. Okay, so some of those words that are really important. What division is, it's the inverse operation of multiplication. It undoes multiplication. So we've got the number 3, we've got the number 5, and when we multiply them, we get the number 15. Well, we're going to work that backward. So we're going to take our product, 15, and we're going to divide it by 5. So we're just going to work it backward from what this answer was, divided by this number, 5, and we're going to get what we started with, the first number, 3. So division undoes multiplication. 3 times 5 equals 15. 15 divided by 5 equals 3. And so we're going to use that idea to show what happens when we start working with negatives. So let's take a multiplication problem that we just did, or that we might have looked at previously, or something similar. So let's start with multiplication. Let's say we have -2 times 4. Okay? So -2 times 4 equals -8. We had one negative. Okay? Well, now we're going to work it backward. We're going to take the -8. We're going to divide it by this number, the 4. And based on what we just learned about division, it is inverse of multiplication. It undoes it. We should end up with -2 as our answer. So let's just sort of examine this. We had a negative number here divided by a positive number here, and that gave us a negative answer. So just like in multiplication, when one of the two numbers was negative, our answer was negative. Hey, that's cool. So now let's look at a situation like this. Let's say we have 5, and we're going to multiply that times -3. 5 times -3. And when we multiply that, again, we have one negative. And so our answer is also -15. So let's work this one backward. We take our answer, -15. We divide it by this number, the -3. And notice how I'm going to put it in parentheses. Remember why I'm doing that? I'm doing that because I want to separate the symbols. I don't like to have two symbols right next to each other, two operations right next to each other. It's simply grouping the negative with the 3. So -15 divided by -3 equals that number, 5. So let's examine what happened here. We had a negative number divided by another negative number, and that gave us a positive number. So when the two numbers we're working with in division are both negative, our answer is positive. Hey, that's also the same thing as multiplication. That's pretty nice that those, if you're a rule person, I like rules, but I like more understanding when it comes to mathematics. If you're a rule person, those are the rules. And the way that the thing you're going to start to see is that when you have multiple numbers multiplied together, or multiple numbers, more than 2, like 3, 4, 5 numbers divided, right? So if we have a lot of things multiplied or divided, If there are an even number of negatives, an even number, like multiples of 2, they're going to cancel out, and it's always going to be positive, just like we saw right here. If there's an odd number of negatives when you're multiplying or dividing, there's always going to be one left over. And that's what happened here. We just had one negative, which is an odd number. And that's always going to be